Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mary. How are you?
I'm good.
I having some technical difficulties today. Can't go live on Facebook, so hopefully people will join in with us today or catch it on the replay on Linda Loves Lav. And I have an offer for anybody who does that and subscribes to Linda Loves Lav, which I'm going to Mary, remind me at the end of our broadcast today that about the free giveaway. So today we're missing Kathy because her grandson is making his first communion, and that's a big deal. And they're having a party afterwards, so she wasn't able to be on today, but I'm so grateful for the time that we had together over the last 2 weeks of her actually being here. And if you saw last week's Zoom, it was a little shorter than usual, but we were having a lot of fun with makeup and face masks and all kinds of things. So I have a really good group of people in my new neighborhood whom I adore, and I'm so grateful that they came into my life. I want to say happy birthday to Anita. I put out a call for a co-host today, and Anita said, well, maybe I'll jump in. It's supposed to rain, so I don't know if I'm going to do the garage sale that's going on. And she goes, I'm not really motivated for that. But she didn't tell me it was her birthday, but I found out. So happy birthday, Anita. I hope you jump on and come say hi. When I was in search for a topic this week, I wrestled with so many different things, and there were a couple of topics that were they were good topics, and we're going to get to them, but I felt like they were just too large for me to handle by myself, and I needed my Kathy. So I changed my mind several times during the week. And as God has a plan for everyone, he led me to have a plan for today. Denise contacted me next door, and we were talking about a couple of things, and I wanted her to try the new CBD oil to see if that would help with her cough and her bronchitis and all that. Anyway, eventually it came to me about what today was going to be what we're going to talk about. And this one kind of smacked me in the face. Ever since I started essential oils, it's been a journey for me of self-improvement in a lot of different ways. Some of those ways I've been really successful with, like getting rid of toxins, trying to not medicate or over-medicate or use medications at all if I can help it, but go with a more natural route. Detoxing my home, trying to detox my body in certain ways. But in other ways, I've been a complete failure because I continue to struggle with my weight. I continue to struggle with getting enough exercise. And no matter what my intent is, I seem to fail at those things. I've also been frustrated with this new lifestyle that I found of trying to live clean and get rid of all those harmful chemicals that can really have an effect on your life. Maybe not short term, but definitely long term. And we never see the ramifications of that until it's too late. So I always think of it as, these different little changes that I've made with toxins are proactive. They are, and I hope I never know if they work or not, because, I'm trying to prevent disease from happening. So how would I know that I'm successful? By not ever being sick or getting a disease? I don't know. Heredity plays some part, genetics, but I think there's an awful lot that we can do for ourselves to be proactive in staying healthy. Now, when I try to share that message with other people, I get really frustrated because this is something that's going to impact everybody. This is life-changing, and yet they don't listen. They don't want to hear the message. They don't act. Some do. Mary, you were a case in point. You started changing things right away. Once you came to one of my classes, we were having that discussion in the living room. And I have to say, as I was teaching, and I'm very self-conscious and I get nervous about everything. And I try to use my acting skills to not be nervous and to not let that be apparent. But you were the only person in that class who didn't say a word. And I interpreted that. I thought you were bored to tears. I thought you couldn't wait to get out of my house because just everything I was saying did not resonate with you. But I was totally mistaken, like completely. You were the only person who said, sign me up right now. I need to make that change in my life. And I think it all boils down to you were ready. Everybody else wasn't quite ready, right? They had to weigh, the different points I was making and weigh it according to their belief system or their financial system or whatever system it might have been. You see who just popped in? She hasn't actually appeared yet, but my goodness. What are you doing? Hello, Kathy. Oh, you're stuck. There you are. What you doing? How come you're not in church?
Well, it doesn't start yet, so I have time.
Oh, all right, great.
Okay, so how do I get rid of this?
Okay, so when you go over to where it says stop video, hit that little arrow and choose virtual background. And then there's a button that says, I have a green screen. Unclick that. That's probably clicked from before.
Looks like the Birds movie.
He disappeared. Anyway, so I was really frustrated. I continually to be frustrated with people who hear something that can be life-changing, that can be really good for you. Well, now you have a virtual background. You look beautiful though.
Okay.
So I got frustrated because people don't want to make that change. And I think it all comes down to whether or not they're ready to hear that message or not, and then whether or not they're ready to act on it. So today's discussion is, I call it Psychology 101. And I did a lot of research about this, so I have some things to back up these statements about why we are resistant to change. Why don't we heed the warning signs when they are given to us, they're presented to us, and sometimes even blatantly presented to us? What holds us back from doing that? I think part of this becomes kind of a black hole of our brains, our mentality. We know there's so much that we don't know about our brains. And so when we start to analyze, we get real Freudian on ourselves, it can take us down that bottomless pit and not ever get us answers. But we're going to try anyway. And I just want to say, because Anita popped on there, hi, Anita, and happy birthday. I'm honored that you are here with us today on your birthday. Yes, I see you are looking for the live. And unfortunately, the live wouldn't work today. Facebook changed their processes. I don't know. And it says I don't have permission to Zoom into that group. I don't understand why. So I'm going to have to investigate that this week and figure out a way to get it back into there. So I appreciate you jumping on. There was nothing I could do about it. It was change that Facebook was coming up with that I was unprepared for, because they didn't let me know. Well, they kind of let me know last week that something was going to change, but who knew what it was going to be? Anyway, moving on. Glad you're here and happy birthday. And so the Psychology 101. Okay, so why don't people heed the warning signs and make the changes that they need to in their lives. I found 15 different points from this one website, and I can't quote you on it because I didn't put it in my notes. But first of all, number one is belief, right? Do we actually believe what we're hearing? So I have an analogy that I'm going to try to carry through this. If I told you that eating carrots every single day would lead to toe fungus, you might hear that and think, no way, right? You're not going to believe it. So you just determined that you don't have to cut down on carrots for any reason, right? You love your carrots. You don't believe it. And so there, you don't have to do it. So number one is believe in what you're hearing. So if you don't believe it, you're not going to change. Does that make sense? Second thing is passion. So in the same scenario, perhaps your current behavior is that you do absolutely adore carrots and you eat them every single day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day because you love carrots. When I tell you how this habit's going to affect you, you may show some concern at first, but ultimately you don't change your behavior because, well, your love for carrots outweighs any possible risk. So it outweighs the threat of this so-called toe fungus that you might get. And you think, well, if that happens, I'll just get an antifungal, right? And so your passion or your love for what you're already doing or your current lifestyle outweighs the risk that's been presented to you. So you don't act. Number 3, comfort. It pulls us out of our comfort level. So the person in question is perfectly comfortable with their current lifestyle. They don't want to go through any changes. I enjoy carrots. I don't want to give them up. It feels good and I like it. And there is much weight in the things that make us comfortable, right? We have a hard time coming out of our comfort zone. I hear it all the time from people who like, I'm not going on Zoom live. I'm not going to be up there because we don't like to be uncomfortable. And so even when there's a danger or a threat, because it's uncomfortable to change, we don't, right? Any thoughts on any of those so far? I don't want to talk through all 15 points and then we just like go, I always welcome conversation. I like this, I like having that conversation with people. So
Hi,
welcome, Camille. Good morning.
Nice to see you. Good
You
morning.
look beautiful. I love your face. Your face is the face of God. That's what I think of because you just have, I don't know, your face just lights up and it always just makes me feel good to see your face.
Same here. I'm so happy to be here with you ladies.
Yay.
Oh, I'm so glad you are too. That's awesome.
Kathy lied and now she's here.
Now well, I thought things were starting a little earlier and then I looked at my watch. I go, okay, I have everything done till I have to actually leave. So if I cut out, we were leaving. But I thought I'm going to hop on for a little while and maybe get to see some people.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you. So Camille, we couldn't be on Facebook today. Facebook changed their procedures. And I kept getting an error message saying I didn't have permission to Zoom into the group. And I'm like, I created the group. What's going on here?
Yeah.
So, and maybe I can post the video later or a link to the video back into our group, but it was not going to happen today. So I'm going over 15 reasons why people don't heed the warning signs, why they don't take action when something comes up. And it all comes down to change, right? So number 4 is energy. Okay. When we think of everything we need to do in order to change our behavior, we become overwhelmed and simply decide it's not worth the effort. So back to my carrot analogy. If I don't eat carrots every day, I'll have to find a new favorite vegetable and learn how to cook that. And maybe it'll be more money, And then I'll have to budget for my new vegetable. And what if it takes more room up in my fridge? So many things to consider, right? So we continue our current behavior with the hope that the side effect won't happen. We just don't have the energy to make that change.
Mm-hmm.
I also call that laziness, and I'm guilty of it. I am guilty of laziness because sometimes those changes are just huge. I'll talk about my own personal laziness a little bit later. But yeah, we just don't have the energy to do it. It's like, ugh. And I think we overthink it sometimes. I think we think it's going to take more energy than it really does.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think too that when you think about changing something, like you said, you're thinking that, oh my gosh, I have to have a plan to do this change or to make this change, or it's not going to work. So, but it's just too much effort to put into a plan, where what we were doing before is kind of like an automatic thing that's been instilled in us. So, or that we've just done through repetition, and, so we just keep doing it rather than, trying to make a change, even if it's a small one. I mean, when you're going in the same direction all the time, you're going to end up here, right? But then if you make a small change at a time, or small changes over time, you could end up over here. And over here is really where you want to be. In your mind, you're thinking, boy, I'd love to, whatever, be 20 pounds lighter, or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of making those small changes in our lifestyle, whether it be nutrition or whether it be exercise or whatever, for specifically talking about losing weight, we continue on that same path. So we stay right here, and you never lose it. But if you go this way and say, okay, well, I'm going to start out exercising 3 days a week, for whatever amount of time, 20 minutes or whatever. So then you're gradually getting this way. Now you're reducing your sugar intake and making better choices in your eating habits. So now you're going here. And pretty soon you will be here if we just keep making those small changes and keeping them in a regular path, regular pace. So it's not a lot of changes, but over time, those changes will amount to that 20 pounds or whatever,
Right. Yeah, one step at a time. And I'll get to a little bit later if we have time, because that might be part 2 next week is making those changes but yeah, I continued to do research and found ways that you can make those changes. But today right now at this point, I'm addressing what we do to avoid those changes. Another one is investment. So perhaps the time, money, and resources you've put into something influences how you react to a warning. So going back to carrots, I've installed a huge carrot garden. I have a big refrigerator full of carrots and a freezer full of frozen carrots. And I'm not going to throw all of that away, all that time, money, effort that I've put into carrots for a little toe fungus that may or may not happen. So your inaction is justified by finances or time or energy or effort that you've put into something previously. So you're like, nah, not going to do it. Number 7 is challenge. So the way you've always thought about something can affect your ability to act, whatever it is. And a person may be really highly educated about a topic, but when you hear this bit of information, you have a hard time connecting it to previous knowledge because it just doesn't make sense. Based on everything you know about carrots, toe fungus doesn't make sense, right? And of course, this is, again, a totally made up scenario. Carrots, as far as I know, do not cause toe fungus. I just wanted to make it something ridiculous so we could see how we assimilate or disseminate the information that we're given. So let's see. So yeah, when your thinking is challenged, wait a minute, I've always been told carrots are good for you, especially your eyes. How can they cause toe fungus? So you're simply going to revert back to your personal knowledge that your previous knowledge, because it doesn't jive, right? You don't want to be challenged in that way. Another thing that can prevent us from taking action is anger. Especially if there have been other warnings in beforehand and none of those have played out. Did that dangerous thing manifest itself? I don't know. Or did you change your behavior for a warning that never played out? You felt foolish. I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to listen to you. And so people get angry and again, inaction. Not number 9 is the not me scenario. I bet you don't understand what that is, right? If I do this thing, it can happen. Okay, I believe it can happen, but it's not going to happen to me, right? And that's sort of like children, especially teenagers, when they act rashly or engage in maybe dangerous behavior, because they don't understand that it can happen to them, that, you know, accidents happen. And so we take on that attitude that, yeah, well, you know, that might happen to some people, but it's not going to happen to me. And so you ignore the good advice, you ignore the warning, because you don't make it personal. You don't connect to it. Have you done that with anything? Has anybody felt that way about something?
I think that's the rationale for a lot of people, like smokers, or, you know, people who are in danger of heart disease or lung cancer, you know, that it's not going to happen to me. Like my dad was like that. He's like, there's no way I'm ever going to get, you know, have that, which he did end up getting, actually. So, but I think that a lot of people, for good or bad, think that they're kind of invincible and that, you know, it's not going to happen to them.
Yeah. Good word, invincible. Yeah, I'm writing that down because I might add that in. I actually prepared for this today by writing my next blog. It just started to flow and I was doing the research and putting it in. So this is my research is gonna be, or it's gonna be a blog post after we finish today. But yeah, that invincible feeling that it's not gonna happen to me, you know. And maybe you have justification for that. Maybe it's not going to happen to me because I wash my carrots very carefully, or whatever the behavior is that you feel is going to negate the dangerous behavior. But that not me is, I think it's strong.
Yeah, I mean, because really, and I mean, I think, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
I think that even like with me, like, you know, with health issues that I've had, like I eat healthy, I do healthy things. I thought I have a healthy lifestyle, but there's just things that can happen or that can sneak through that, you know, can take you by surprise.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, there are a lot of things just out of our control too. So, you know, that's.
But just because of that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do those other things that are healthy, that are going to tip you to, you know, to the positive scale versus the negative.
You know, I don't even think I addressed that in these 15. So maybe that's number 16 is damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Doesn't matter what I do. If something's going to happen, it's going to happen. Right. And so people aren't called to action because they figure it's not going to make a difference anyway.
Well, I always think of if you didn't do those good things, those healthy things, or whatever whatever your scenario is where would you be if you didn't do it? Okay, so that thing happened at this point, but you know, if you were, you know, taking a dive and doing the bad things to begin with, you know, you wouldn't be at this point. You'd be, you know, those things that did happen might have happened sooner, you know, and be more troublesome than, you know, doing, let's say, all the healthy things and not have it occur till later in life.
I think that inaction is always like, it's the lazy way out. It's just like all of these different things that I'm addressing today are just excuses. They're reasons why.
Mhm.
And I think it comes down to whether you want to or not. I mean, you make that choice to
Right.
change or not.
Right.
And we justify not changing by all of these different ways and all of these different, reasons. Okay, number 10, planning. I already have a plan in place. Okay. So you've done your research on toe fungus, and you are using Amish butter every day and rubbing it on your toes to prevent that toe fungus. So your justification is, well, I already have a plan in place. My Amish butter rub will keep me safe so I can keep eating carrots. So one plan disturbs another, so you choose the plan of least resistance, right? Again, choosing not to believe or feeling like you already have a plan in place for that. Number 11, right is might. A person's way of thinking is challenged when a new piece of information comes along. They have to save face. They don't want to admit that they don't know everything about something, and so they want to save face, and they think, I'm right. If I look any deeper, I might be wrong. So I'm just going to not pay any attention to this. And that's, of course, foolish. But there are people who are like that. I know you've met them, right? You have a conversation with somebody, you try to make a point, and they have a counterpoint for everything. And whether they believe that or not, that's not the point. Their goal is to be right at all costs. So they're going to be contrary to whatever you say, just to save face. I've met people like that. They're probably some of the reasons why I don't like conflict. I avoid conflict as much as possible, because you can't answer people like that, right? They have an answer for everything, and they're not going to listen to whatever you say. Whether you're right or wrong, it doesn't matter. It becomes a fight of, might is right. Who's going to come out on top at the end of this argument? So, number 12, we're getting through these pretty quickly. That's good. What ifs? So some people are going to overthink the whole issue, right? They're going to play it out to the furthest extreme and then not be able to take that action. So if there's this tiniest chance that this information may not be true in their mind, they're going to not act because they want to be on the right side. And inactivity is always easier than change. Then you have the people who fear. Okay. So what if after all this time and effort you put into changing, the worst still happens? Or what if making that change affects some other part of your life? Your husband loves carrots and you stop serving them. It's going to be trouble. I don't want to upset my husband. I don't want to, I love my marriage. I don't want to upset that marriage. So we hold on to those fears, rational or otherwise, and the fear can make us petrified and paralyzed in action. We just don't do it because of the fear. How many of you are spiritual people? Believe in God? I do. Okay. Number 14 is faith. And I think this is a serious misuse of faith. If God wanted me to change, he wouldn't have made me like this. Okay. I think that's a cop-out. So God gives us free will and we make our own decisions. Isn't that why so much of the world is in trouble these days? Is because people engage in that free will and don't think about consequences. So we do have the power within us. God gives us the power to make those positive changes. And I think when we do that, God smiles at us, so don't use your faith. Don't use, God to say, well, God wouldn't put carrots on the earth if they weren't good for us. Cop out. The last point is self-confidence. So I think it's crazy on target because I think some of us are just paralyzed with inaction because we lack that self-confidence to act. Maybe you don't act because you know you're going to fail. Not even going to start because I'm not going to get there, right? Or I'm going to look silly. People will make fun of me. I'll fall on my face. It's another type of fear, but it boils down to being just another lame excuse for not heeding the warning that will make you a better person. There's another thought I had in there and I didn't write it down and it went in and out of my head really fast. So, I don't know. Someone else want to talk while I think of my point was something about being paralyzed with inaction. We lack
I
self-confidence.
think that sometimes there's so many choices out there that can paralyze people. You know, there's so many different options, there's so many different things, there's so many different opinions out there that just get overwhelmed, and then you're just like, forget it, I'm just not going to do anything.
I agree. I think that overwhelmed feeling is what really holds a lot of people back from maybe doing the things that they want to do or making those choices to go forward with something. Because like Linda said, if I go forward with this, it's not necessarily what are people going to think, it's what if I'm going to fail? Oh, okay, so maybe I'll try this one. And then, you kind of get that same feeling that no matter what you try, you've already put it in your head with mindset that I'm probably going to fail or I might fail. So I think that's one of the things we have to get out of there first is, before going forward, and of course, if you have self-confidence, you probably won't have those feelings of I'm going to fail because you're confident in what you're doing. And
yeah, I feel like I have that, not a self-confidence issue, but I feel like I'm overeducated about certain things and that becomes paralyzing. So I've read this and I've read that and I've read this and that and that, and I'm trying to make sense of all of those together. And some of them contradict each other. So which one do I choose? And I keep educating myself and I keep finding more information, but there's still some conflict and some, I don't know, that information does not all gel together. And so it's like, well, I guess I'm not going to do any of this because this says this is good and this says this is good, but says the other one is bad. And so you get paralyzed again because you know too much and probably still not enough. My numbers for me personally, I think, and I'm talking about weight loss at this point and eating healthy because I have the best intentions. We had Purple Carrot, which is a vegan meal plan. We had that last night. I'm looking forward to it for another couple nights. So I try, but we get thwarted along the way. But for me, I think comfort, energy, and planning get in the way for me. So I want to change, but I'm really comfortable in my lifestyle. I also, I'm lazy. So it's more work to eat healthy. And if you're hungry and you need to address that hunger right away, what do? For me, I go in the refrigerator or the pantry or whatever, and I'm like, what can I eat right now to satisfy that hunger instead of planning ahead and creating, healthy choices, having chopped up carrots, damn this toe fungus, and having healthy things that you can grab and eat right away, right? And what was number 10? Number 10 is the plan. Yeah, I feel like sometimes I have too many plans in place for me that, like I said, contradict each other. But as far as people in general, not heeding the warning signs. I think it's something that we just do. And I think we talked about it a little bit of that not me mentality. Because think about the warning signs. It takes a long time for something to catch on so that we know that it is truly dangerous. Probably a lot of the things that we talk about, you know, with our essential oils or getting toxin free and all of that stuff, been around for a while, but it's not common thinking at this point. Think about in the past, how long was cigarette smoking popular before people started to heed the warning signs and finally understand the ramifications of cigarette smoking? I look at, what was I watching? Something from this, Mad Men I was watching, and like, it was like the popular thing to pull out a cigarette. And even in the 60s and 70s, what was that show we were watching, Kathy? For All Mankind. They were all whipping out cigarettes like it was nothing. There was no, it was no problem. It wasn't dangerous at all. And then I think it took a long time for us to really understand the ramifications of it and how dangerous it was before people started quitting smoking. Or I think there's other things like that. Saccharin, that took a long time for people to get rid of. Roundup, LA smog, there's lots of things that are potentially dangerous to us that we know now, but it took a long time for people to actually realize it and assimilate that into their lives. So I think we just don't know.
Trans fats. No, that's another one.
Yeah.
Oh, when they had the whole fat-free in the 70s, 80s, the whole fat-free thing in the 80s.
Butter and margarine. Like,
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. What was it? That Olustra or something like that?
Oh, right.
That was in the 80s with
Oleo with
Olestra. They put it in the Pringles, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember eating those. I remember trying them and feeling sick from that. They just did not sit well with my stomach. Same with they're not stevia. What was before stevia, but after saccharin? One of those sugar substitutes.
In the yellow packages? What was in the yellow packages?
I don't know, but it's an ingredient and still used in a lot of sugar-free.
Sweet and low.
What is
the
it?
high fructose corn syrup?
No.
In the little pink packets, was that Sweet and Low?
Sweet and Low, but that was saccharin, I think.
That was saccharin.
But after saccharin, there was another one that is still used today, which I cannot tolerate. There used to be a mint. It was can't name Velements. Velements had this ingredient. They were a sugar-free mint, and it had this type of sugar-free substitute. And it gave me the worst gas. I had to be like, nope. And I love those Velements, but nope. But until we ascertain that information is true and we assimilate it fully with facts that confirm authenticity, we're just not going to change, right? And that actually takes effort. So first you have to kind of have a little belief that maybe possibly this is true. And then you investigate and, either confirm it or maybe you don't find enough evidence. And so you're not willing to change.
I was just having this conversation with a friend about skincare. And she's like, oh, I use this brand. It was, I think, CeraVe or something. And I'm like, okay, well, I use the Young Living's orange blossoms. Yeah, but I was using the charcoal bar soap because, after having so many like medications pumped into me, like I could just like feel like stuff like just oozing out. And she's like, actually her fiance uses this, and she goes, and it really works well for him for like clearing up stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I really try. I mean, I understand that, what we put on our bodies goes in our bodies. So I really try really hard to like monitor that because that's something that you can control. So she actually brought me the facial, the facial wash, and I'm looking at the ingredients and I'm like, no. Like,
right.
Like, this is counter to what I'm trying to do. And you don't want to hurt someone's feelings because obviously they just don't really, oh, Anita has it. Pardon me.
Thank you,
Oh,
Anita.
yes, thanks, Anita.
Aspartame.
Yes.
But I think that that's a concept that really is hard for people to grasp, that, it's not just what we eat, that we directly put into our mouths, but it's what we put on our skin, and which is our largest organ, that can absorb all that into.
Mm-hmm. I had something similar with my dad. I don't know what's causing this, but he has this rash all over his face, made worse by the medication that the doctors prescribed. So he had this little, just on one cheek, he had like this red spot, looked like a rashy kind of thing. It was a little bit bumpy, it wasn't just a coloring thing, but it was, you could tell something was wrong there. So they prescribed some kind of a cream for him to put on, and he did. And next thing you know, his whole face looks like that. And I'm like, Dad, don't ever use that again. And I gave him some of my moisturizer, my DIY moisturizer that the girls used last week. And already he looks better. So I'm like hoping today I'll be able to take a picture, because I took a picture of the before, like, oh my gosh, your face looks terrible. And I'm hoping I can take an after picture, that after like 2-3 days, I think he used it on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah. So that to see, that sometimes the stuff that the doctor gives you is not the best treatment. And how do they know? They thought it was going to clear it up. They didn't realize it was going to make it worse. He hasn't been back to the doctor, but I'm like, Dad, if it's making your face look like it, but he didn't know either, because he doesn't go around looking at himself in the mirror. So, but yeah, just something in that just set. Whoa, his face was ugly. So going back to change. I think it just comes back to people are ready when they're ready or not, right? And so for a lot of us who are trying to promote a healthy lifestyle, trying to detoxify our friends and family, we can get really depressed when people don't heed our good advice. They don't heed the warning signs. And you can't take it personally, because every single person comes with that 15 list of 15, 16 things of baggage of reasons why it's easier not to change, or why they don't, they just don't believe or whatever. And they will come to you in their own time, again, or not, because maybe they'll never assimilate that information. They'll never accept it or believe it. And so they're never going to change. I don't know. Do you keep harping when people are resistant? Does it help?
I don't think it helps.
I think it turns them off eventually, and then they think everything that you say is bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you can keep approaching it.
I agree.
Gently.
I think just leading by
example.
Go ahead. I think that's what I was going to say. Go ahead, Camille.
Just leading by example, and just your lifestyle, and hopefully by seeing like the strides and the improvements that you're making, people take notice of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe think, okay, maybe there's something to that. Maybe I'll try that. And we hear those stories all the time. But if you keep harping on it, it just kind of turns people off, and then they're not going to want to listen to anything that you say.
Actions speak louder than words, right? So doing that, and I feel like that's where maybe my voice becomes more powerful if I get the rest of my life in order, if I can lose weight, if I can get in shape. I don't know, but yeah, I think you can't keep harping on the same message when they've already dismissed you for that. I think it just gets crazy. So I have a quote from Dr. Amy Montanez. And I think she sums it up nicely. So much of this boils down to not wanting to change. We all seek homeostasis. And I'm not talking about through the body, but just in our lives, that balance in our lives. So heeding warnings is hard work. It requires a willingness to change, a willingness to be changed, a willingness to trust that we are capable of change, a willingness to be proactive, a willingness to engage in conflict, a willingness to be influenced by others, a willingness to be wrong, a willingness to learn. All these hard things we don't want to do, but then we have to because we didn't heed the warning signs. So if you don't change ahead of time and the ultimate bad thing happens to you, now you're going to have to put a lot more work into dealing with that thing, right? I'm going to work harder to accommodate everything I've read or learned and start with making the necessary changes for healthier lifestyle. So it's going to be work. And I like what Kathy said earlier is like small steps. So if my ultimate goal is to lose 60, 70 pounds, I can't make that my first goal. You know, maybe that's my grand goal, but then I have to have sub goals and you have to have action steps. And I suggest everybody Google SMART goals. I have some links including that today. SMART goals are those steps that you take. They are specific. So you say specifically what you want. They are measurable so that you can measure your progress over time. They are attainable. So, you know, having a goal that you can't ever actually accomplish is not attainable. Relevant. So they have to be important to you. And I think that connects to your why. Like, why are you doing this? That has to be strong and relevant to you. And then time bound. So when you're making a goal, you have to put a limit of when am I going to accomplish this? So if I think I'm going to lose 70 pounds by bikini season, at this point in time, that's not attainable. That's not, something I can actually do within a given amount of time. So we like to dabble in self-improvement. And there is a great, I think some of this will leave for next week since we're coming close to the hour, and that way we can all just kind of chat out. But before I want to come back to this conversation, I just want to do a side note because Mary was supposed to remind me. She didn't know it was time to remind me now that I have a giveaway. So anybody who goes to my website, lindaloveslavender.com. No, it's not. It's lindaloveslav.com. And you subscribe, I am going to help you with your goal of drinking more water. And I'm sending this to my sister-in-law. This is my water bottle invention, because I don't know about you, but I forget how many bottles of water or how many glasses of water I've had every day. So I made some Cricut, I used to call it Cricut because I didn't know any better, Cricut labels that have numbers on them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is like a window cling, and you can use the X too. I found the X is harder to move, and say, okay, this is my first bottle of water for the day. And then when you fill it up a second time, this is my second one. And so you can keep track of how much water. And my sister-in-law was in the hospital.
That's so cool.
Yeah. My sister-in-law was in the hospital over the weekend, and I heard her say, I rarely get any water. I really drink any water except for when I take my pills in the morning. And I went, oh my gosh, she needs this. So she's getting this. But I have these, the numbers so that you can personalize your own. Whoops. I have these that I will send and put the adhesive on it so that you can just pull it up and put it on your own bottle. And I'll share the colors with you. So anybody who wants to subscribe is going to get one of these sent to you. And Mary, you get to pick a color because I will send that to you because you're already subscribed. And so is Kathy. So
pink. I like pink.
You like pink? Okay. And I have tons of them. So that I can, I just made a whole ton of them one day. So that's my giveaway to anybody who subscribes. I will see you, when you subscribe, you put in your email and phone number. I think, phone number may be optional, but whatever. And then I'll contact you and let you pick a color, and I'll send that out to you, get your information and whatever. Anyway.
So Linda, was that lindaloveslab.com?
Yes. Yes. And I have a blog there. So I am moving away from Facebook and I'm not posting on there every single day like I used to. I had my Linda Loves Lavender page. But I find I get way too distracted on Facebook, and they're putting more and more rules and stopping things that I'm doing. And so I'm putting my efforts into a website where I can control things. If I want to put something up there, they're not going to tell me I can't. So, so I'm moving to that, and would like there to be subscribers so people can see what I'm doing. I'm not sure how people can comment right now. I think you have to not subscribe, but you have to sign up to be able to put a comment in, because nobody's made any comments on anything so far. And I'm like, I'd like there to be a conversation, but anyway, so that I think next week, Kathy, maybe we can talk about those steps to change, because after I did the initial information about why people don't heed the warning signs, I went and I have like a whole bunch of stuff that we haven't even talked about today that is about trying to take that next step, and how do you make those changes, and lots of different experts on this subject. Mel Robbins, one of my favorites, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just do it. We'll talk about that. So other thoughts about this, why people don't change, don't heed the warning signs? I think you just present the information and people do it or they don't do it. I created some quality statements for my life. I just did it. I hope I can go with it. Bye, Kath. Have a good time. You are what you eat.
Kathy.
You are what you eat.
Thank
you know better, do better.
That's right.
Move it or lose it.
Yeah.
All disease begins in the gut. And express gratitude every day. So those are the things that I am going to start living and putting into my life, that I really have to stop making excuses for food. And I know, I'm not heeding the warning signs because I'm lazy or one of those other ideas. What are you guys working on changing? What are your struggles? Any special mantra you live by?
Being more vocal in social situations.
All right, but you just did it. You spoke up, Mary.
I'm more of a sit back and listen and absorb and, but
I'm very much that way, believe it or not. I'm not here because if I don't talk, then we all sit here and look at each other. I mean, but because it's, my show, or Kathy and my show. But if I were in your situation and I was watching somebody else, another Zoom, I probably wouldn't even show my face. I would probably just sit back and, again, take it all in. And there's much to be said for that, I think, absorbing things and not reacting. So that's good. But yeah, that's a good goal to have for yourself, is to be more vocal.
More vocal. And lose 100 pounds.
Yeah, that one's, I think you start with 10, right?
Yes.
Because it's a lot less intimidating. I agree.
I do too.
I think for me, it's putting my actual, I talk a lot about self-care, but really putting it into action for myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to talk about it. It's easy to have ideas, but how do you actually set yourself up so that you can do that when you need to. So that's been a huge struggle for me because I just, especially now when I know, like literally, I'm forced to have to do it. It's still a struggle to like figure out,
Oh yeah.
okay, I really need to stop right now and sit and do whatever.
Right. I think I need to pick a plan. You know, I hear so many different things, and today I'll try to post it on Living Well and Wise. There's actually a food summit starting today with John Robbins. They do it every year. They bring in all of these different experts on nutrition, and I'll put the link in there. Somebody from O'Fallon, Illinois just went to Linda Loves Lavender. Yay. What is it called? They keep sending me notes and things. It's the Food Revolution Summit. And it probably already started today, but the nice thing about it is once you're in it, you have like the whole 24 hours to view the content from today. And then tomorrow there'll be new content. They often, at some point, they'll say, okay, we're going to replay it. They want you to buy the whole thing. Don't do that. But even if you only catch a few of the lectures, they are eye-opening. And, you know, I've listened to that. I've listened to ones on the truth about cancer, one about supplements, autoimmune disease. I have that whole set that I purchased because sometimes I just hit the, you know, send button, send it to me. But there's lots of different ways to kind of improve your life and lots of experts to listen to. Just don't get too overwhelmed with listening to everybody, and pick one action plan and go with that to begin with. All right. Anything else? Anybody got anything else to say today?
Did you see Anita's comment on how to subscribe to your website? Like, where's the?
Yes, there's a subscribe button on the bottom of every page, as far as I know. And Anita, did you see that? Did you find the subscribe button once you got there? It should be on the bottom of every single page. And actually, there should be a pop-up when you first go there that talks about this particular giveaway, because I am someone from Villa Park, Illinois, just got there. So I get little notifications. I don't know who's gotten onto my website, but the funny thing is it tells me I've got somebody from Ocala visiting the website every time I go on. I'm like, I know it's me. Don't tell me it's me. Tell me it's somebody else. All right. Well, I think next week we will continue this conversation by talking about some of those action steps, talking about different ways that you can to put change in action. And one of the things that I found right away from Psychology Today is that myth that people don't change, and people do change. It just takes effort. It takes people wanting to change in order to actually put things into action. So yeah, I found several websites, and I've only just hit the surface. So I can't wait to explore that a little bit more and share that with you next week. And Kathy will be back, and she'll be doing her part too. So thank you all for joining in today. This has been wonderful. I love seeing faces, or just knowing that people are there and having that conversation. And Anita's been conversing through the chat. Latanya, thank you for joining in. And I hope you guys come back next week. Have a great Friday. Have a great Saturday. I don't know what, I'm retired. I don't know what day it is. Have a great weekend, everybody.
All right,
Bye,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.